Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You didn't land here by mistake. You were guided, pulled in by something deep, something divine, because the time has finally come for you to wake up. See, for too long, you've been walking through the noise of this world, weighed down by expectations, by fear, by guilt that was never even yours to carry. You've been chained, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and you've been wondering why you feel trapped even when you're surrounded by people. But deep down, you know why. Because you were never built to blend in. You were chosen to stand out. The universe has been sending you signs, repeated numbers, familiar songs, strange dreams that feel too real. You've been feeling something shift inside you. That's not coincidence. That's your awakening. You see, God doesn't whisper to the ordinary. He speaks to the anointed. And lately, that whisper's been getting louder, hasn't it? Those moments when you feel something inside say, you were made for more. That's not your imagination. That's the call. And right now, that call is screaming, break the chains. You've been holding yourself back because of what people said about you. You've dimmed your light to make others comfortable. You've lowered your voice, shrunk your dreams, and settled for average because life beat the fight out of you for a while. But here's the truth, and I want you to let this sink in. You were never average. You were never meant to fit in that box. You were born with divine fire in your veins, power in your soul, and purpose written into your DNA. Yeah, maybe you've fallen. Maybe you've been through hell, heartbreak, betrayal, confusion, nights where you questioned if God even saw you anymore. But guess what? He did, and he never left. Every scar you got, it's a seal of survival. Every storm you faced, it was training, not punishment. You weren't being destroyed, you were being forged. The enemy tried to bury you in silence, hoping you'd forget who you are. But let me tell you something real. You can't bury what God already crowned. You might have lost some people, but you gained wisdom. You might have cried alone, but those tears watered your spirit. And now you're rising, stronger, wiser, unshakable. This is your divine moment, the chapter where you stop waiting and start walking, because your destiny, it's not in the distance anymore. It's right here, standing in front of you, whispering your name. You feel that? That's the shift. That's heaven aligning things in your favor. The energy around you is changing, not because of luck, but because your faith is waking up again. See, when a chosen one remembers who they are, everything changes. The same pain that once broke them becomes their weapon. The same rejection that hurt them becomes redirection. And the same silence that scared them becomes sacred, the space where they finally hear God speak. So listen up. If you've been feeling isolated, drained, or misunderstood lately, it's not a curse. It's separation before elevation. God's been clearing your path. He's removing distractions, because where you're going, not everyone can follow. Some people were only meant to be part of your wilderness, not your promised land. You're being positioned for something divine, something massive. And that's why the enemy's been working overtime. The attacks got heavier, didn't they? The doubts got louder. That's how you know breakthrough is close. The closer you get to purpose, the harder the pressure gets. Because the enemy knows, once you remember your power, you become unstoppable. Take a deep breath. Right now, in this very moment, heaven is whispering, break the chains. Break the chains of fear that tell you you're not enough. Break the chains of comparison that keep you small. Break the chains of past mistakes that try to define you. You are not who you were. You are who you're becoming. And that version of you, yeah, that one right there, that's the version hell's been afraid of all along. Look, I know you've been tired of pretending, tired of fighting battles no one sees, tired of smiling through pain. But here's the thing, even on your weakest days, you're still a warrior. Even when you felt broken, you still had purpose, because purpose doesn't disappear in pain. It develops there. You didn't come this far to break now. You came this far to break through. And soon, people who counted you out are going to say, I don't know how they made it. But you'll know, because it wasn't luck. It was grace. It was God. This is your moment of awakening. No more running from your calling. No more shrinking your power. No more settling for comfort when you were built for greatness. You are the chosen one, not by chance, but by divine design. And it's time to break free. The same God who carried you through your darkest nights is now saying, my child, the chains are broken. Step into your light. So what now? Now you rise. You start walking like the miracle you are. You start believing like the warrior you've always been. And when you walk into a room, darkness trembles because light just showed up. You ain't just surviving anymore. You're becoming. You're becoming everything the pain tried to stop. You're becoming the version of yourself your younger self prayed you'd be. And the chains, they don't fit you anymore. Chosen one, this is only the beginning. You've broken free from the illusions that held you down. And now your destiny is calling louder than ever. Answer it, because the world is waiting for your light. Part 2 begins when you say yes.
You ever been at that point where you just feel done? Like your soul's heavy, your prayers feel like they bounce off the ceiling, and you start asking yourself, what's the point? Yeah, that's the breaking point. And believe it or not, that's where destiny starts breathing again. See, God don't rebuild on comfort. He rebuilds on collapse. He lets everything fall apart so he can show you who the real architect is. You thought the pain was punishment, but no, it was placement. He had to move you out of certain rooms, strip off certain titles, and distance you from certain people because they were never meant to hold the version of you that's about to rise. You weren't losing. You were being positioned. Listen, chosen one, sometimes God allows you to hit rock bottom so you finally realize he's the rock at the bottom. And when you reach that moment, that cold, lonely silence where it feels like everything and everyone you depended on just vanished, that's when heaven starts whispering, now that I've got your attention. You had to be broken to understand wholeness. You had to lose peace to learn how to guard it. You had to walk through hell just to appreciate heaven when it finally shows up. You remember those nights crying on the floor, praying, God, please, just show me what to do. Yeah, he heard every word. You thought the silence meant he wasn't listening, but the silence was the setup. See, the teacher don't talk during the test. And that season of silence, that was the test. He wanted to see if you'd still believe when nothing made sense, if you'd still trust when everything felt shattered. And you did, even when you doubted, even when you broke, even when your hand shook from the weight of it all, you still held on. That's why you're about to rise differently, because the same pain that crushed others became your fuel. Let me tell you something real. You're not crazy for feeling like you've outgrown certain things. You're evolving. That restlessness, that frustration that won't let you stay where you are, that's your soul saying, we're not supposed to live here anymore. And yeah, it hurts when God closes doors that you thought were forever. It hurts when people you love turn into lessons. But that's what happens before breakthrough. Everything that's not aligned starts falling away because elevation requires elimination. You can't carry old versions of yourself into a new season. You can't step into destiny still holding the debris of your past. You got to let the old break so the new can build. And yeah, I know, it feels lonely. The nights are long, the world's quiet, and sometimes it feels like no one gets it. But that isolation, that's your incubation. That's where God molds his warriors. You weren't abandoned. You were being prepared. Because when the anointing on your life is heavy, the process has to be harder. He ain't just making you strong. He's making you unbreakable. Remember this. The same people who overlooked you will soon look up to you. The same doors that were slammed
in your face will open with your name carved on them. And the same pain that tried to bury you will be the reason you stand taller. God's not restoring what you lost. He's replacing it with something better, something divine, something that can't be taken from you. Because when He rebuilds, He doesn't use the same materials. He uses wisdom, strength, faith, and grace. You know what's wild? The pain you hated became the thing that made you powerful. That heartbreak, it taught you boundaries. That loss, it taught you gratitude. That betrayal, it taught you discernment. And now your energy hits different because you've been through fire and came out glowing. You're no longer who you were. You're who you were meant to be all along. Chosen one, don't curse your breaking point. Bless it, because it revealed what couldn't be shaken. Your breaking point taught you to pray with your whole heart, to listen instead of panic, to trust instead of control. You learned that even when the world turns its back, heaven never does. And that's the power you carry now. Unshakable faith. You're walking into a season where peace will feel like home again, where you wake up with gratitude instead of fear, where every lesson turns into fruit, wisdom, clarity, confidence. And the people who once doubted you, they'll see it. That glow, that strength, that divine energy. They'll say something's different about you, and you'll just smile because you'll know, yeah, I broke the chains. Let me remind you, you didn't come this far to just survive. You came to rise, to lead, to heal, to inspire. You came to remind others that God still turns broken stories into blessings. You are the proof that even when life burns to ashes, purpose still rises like a phoenix. Right now, heaven is rebuilding you. Every time you choose peace instead of panic, that's rebuilding. Every time you forgive instead of fight, that's rebuilding. Every time you trust instead of run, that's rebuilding. Brick by brick, prayer by prayer, you're becoming the masterpiece you were always meant to be. Chosen one, you're not at your ending, you're at your becoming. And the chains that once held you, they're not your story anymore. They're your testimony. This is your rise. This is your rebuild. This is your divine comeback. Because what was meant to break you is what made you unshakable. So lift your head, wipe your tears, and walk into your destiny unapologetically, unafraid, and unchained. You ever notice how right before things get good, everything falls apart first? That's the divine shift. The moment when heaven starts rearranging everything behind the scenes. See, chosen one, you didn't lose control. You just stepped out of your own way. You let go. And that's when God said, now watch me work. You were fighting battles that weren't even yours, trying to fix people God already told you to walk away from, trying to control outcomes He already promised to handle. But when you finally said, God, I surrender, everything started shifting. The atmosphere changed. Your energy shifted. Your spirit lifted. That's when you stepped into the divine flow. Now doors are opening that were locked for years. Opportunities are finding you without you chasing them. And peace? Yeah, it's finally sticking around because you stopped forcing what was never meant for you. See, when heaven moves, it don't move slow. It moves suddenly. One day you're crying over what left, and the next day God replaces it with something you didn't even pray big enough for. That's the divine shift. When the very storm that broke you becomes the wind that pushes you toward destiny. You started noticing it, didn't you? That sense of peace even when things don't make sense. That quiet confidence like something in your soul whispering, it's all working out. That's not your imagination, that's alignment. Because once your heart, your faith, and your purpose line up, everything else follows. You ain't chasing anymore, you're attracting. You ain't begging anymore, you're becoming. You're moving like someone who knows heaven's got their back. And when you carry that kind of faith, the world can't ignore you. Listen, chosen one, the shift isn't just happening around you, it's happening in you. You're not the same person who broke down last year. You're not the same soul who begged for clarity. You've leveled up. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, your mindset sharper, your boundaries are stronger, your spirit unshakable. And now the universe, heaven itself, is responding to your new vibration because the energy you move with determines what moves toward you. Let me keep it real with you. Some people ain't gonna understand this new version of you. They'll say you've changed. And guess what? You have. You had to. You couldn't stay soft in spaces that broke you. You couldn't keep giving love where you were being drained. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not selfish. You're sacred. You've learned how to protect your peace because peace became expensive after all that chaos. And that's exactly why the shift is happening now. Because you finally learned your worth. When you stop chasing what's not for you, God sends what is. And when it arrives, it'll feel natural, effortless. You won't have to overthink it, force it, or doubt it. Because real blessings come with confirmation, not confusion. And soon your whole life will make sense. The betrayals, the delays, the closed doors, all of it. You'll look back and say, if that hadn't happened, I'd never be here. That's what divine timing looks like. It's confusing in the moment, but perfect in hindsight. Chosen one, your patience wasn't in vain. Every tear you cried was watering the seeds of your breakthrough. And now the harvest is coming in. You've been faithful in the dark. Now heaven's putting a spotlight on you. Not for fame, not for ego, but for purpose. Because your story, your survival, is about to inspire someone else to keep going. You're about to become proof that miracles still happen. So don't back down now. Don't question it. Don't shrink back when blessings start showing up out of nowhere. You earned this energy. You survived the wilderness. Now step boldly into your promised land. This is your divine shift. And when heaven shifts you, nothing, no person, no fear, no devil can stop it. You feel it, don't you? That pull in your chest. That fire in your spirit, that sudden motivation that don't even make sense. That's God saying, it's time. Time to move different. Time to believe bigger. Time to walk like the crown's already on your head because it is. You're not chasing blessings anymore. Blessings are chasing you. There's a peace coming that'll silence every doubt you had. A door opening that'll make you forget every rejection. A love showing up that'll heal what you thought would never recover. That's the reward for staying faithful when no one saw your fight. Because heaven doesn't forget loyalty. God don't overlook obedience. And your consistency in private is about to pay off in public. This is the divine shift. You're stepping out of survival and into purpose, out of pain and into peace, out of waiting and into winning. The atmosphere around you is changing. Your energy, your frequency, your faith, they're all rising. And soon everything that was delayed will come rushing toward you. Not because you chased it, but because it was always yours. Chosen one, you've made it through the breaking. You've endured the waiting. And now heaven's saying it's your turn. You'll walk into rooms you once prayed to enter. You'll meet people who align with your purpose, not your pain. And you'll finally feel what it means to live in divine flow, where everything works out because you finally stopped forcing what was never meant for you. So step boldly, move faithfully, speak powerfully, because your divine shift isn't coming. It's already here. The chains are gone. The path is clear. And your destiny, it's calling your name, loud and unstoppable. You feel it, don't you?
Listen carefully, chosen one. The moment you start walking in your purpose, the battle gets real. Not the one outside you, but the one inside you. Because once the light in you starts to shine, the darkness around you gets nervous. And that's when the enemy starts moving, whispering lies, stirring doubt, poking old wounds. He can't destroy your destiny, so he tries to distract you from it.
You ever wonder why right when you're about to level up, everything goes left? You start second-guessing yourself. Old habits start calling. People from your past pop up out of nowhere. That's not random. That's warfare. The enemy studies patterns. He knows your weaknesses. He knows what used to break you. And when he sees you rising, he throws those same old tricks back at you. Not because you're weak, but because he knows you're close. See, the closer you get to purpose, the heavier the pressure gets. The closer you get to breakthrough, the louder the lies become. Because the enemy knows. If you ever truly remember who you are, he loses every hold he ever had on you. That's why he attacks your mind, because the mind is the battlefield. He don't care about your body, your money, or your status. He's after your peace. If he can get you to doubt your calling, he don't have to stop your destiny. You'll stop at yourself. So hear me. Every time fear shows up, that's not weakness, that's a test. Every time you feel anxiety creeping in, that's not failure, that's the enemy trying to shake your foundation. But what he doesn't realize is that you've been through too much to fold now. You've already survived what was meant to destroy you. You've already walked through storms that should have taken you out. And if God didn't let that break you, this ain't gonna break you either. This part of the journey, it's mental. You'll wake up some days feeling unstoppable, and other days questioning everything. But that's how warriors are built. Faith isn't about never feeling fear. It's about walking through it anyway. Courage ain't loud. It's that quiet decision you make every morning to keep going, even when you don't feel like it. That's spiritual discipline, not emotions, commitment. You think the enemy's gonna sit back and let you step into your calling? Nah. He's gonna test your patience. He's gonna send delays. He's gonna make you feel forgotten. But understand this, every attack confirms your anointing. Every battle you face is proof that heaven sees something powerful in you. Because let's be real, nobody breaks into an empty house. The enemy's only after you because you're carrying something valuable. So when your mind starts racing, when doubts get loud, when loneliness hits, remind yourself, this is spiritual training. You're learning to fight differently now, not with anger, not with ego, but with peace. You're learning to use silence as your weapon. You're learning to stand tall even when it hurts, because that's what divine warriors do. They don't fight for victory, they fight from victory. They know the battle's already been won. They just gotta walk it out. Chosen one. The enemy's not afraid of your past. He's terrified of your future. He's scared of your consistency, your faith, your glow when you start believing again. That's why he tries to convince you that you're not enough, that your prayers aren't working, that God's forgotten you. But let me drop some truth right here. Silence doesn't mean absence. God's been moving in ways you can't see. He's been protecting you from battles you don't even know about. You think it's quiet, but heaven's been working overtime on your behalf. Every delay you faced, protection. Every no you heard, redirection. Every closed door, a setup for something divine. The enemy tried to make you see endings, but God was creating new beginnings. And that's the real fight, not letting pain convince you that purpose disappeared. So from now on, when those mental battles hit, when you hear that voice saying you're not doing enough, when you feel like quitting, when you start doubting your progress, pause and remind yourself, this is the test before the triumph. You're not going backwards, you're breaking patterns. You're not losing faith, you're learning to use it in real time. Every struggle is proof that something inside you refuses to give up, and that's divine strength, not weakness. Let me make it clear. Spiritual warfare doesn't mean you're losing. It means heaven's investing in you. If you weren't chosen, the enemy wouldn't waste time attacking you. But because you're chosen, you carry light that hell can't stand. That's why the battle's personal, because your breakthrough will free others too. So guard your mind. Protect your peace like it's treasure. Start speaking life over yourself every morning. Tell yourself, I am covered. I am chosen. I am unstoppable. I'm not fighting alone. Heaven fights with me. Because the enemy can't win when your faith stays louder than your fear. Remember this, chosen one. The real battle isn't about what happens around you. It's about what happens within you. And every time you choose peace over panic, faith over fear, growth over guilt, you win. You win even when you don't feel like it. You win even when nobody claps for you. You win because the war was never about being perfect. It was about staying faithful. So hold your head high, straighten your crown, and remember who you are. You're not what the world called you. You're not your mistakes. You're not your past. You're the light in the middle of chaos. You're the voice that'll inspire others to keep going. You're the living proof that faith still works. So when the storm comes again, and it will, stand still. Don't panic, don't react, just whisper, I've seen worse, and I'm still here. Because you've already won battles that no one even knows about. You've already outlived demons that wanted your silence. You've already proven you're built different. The chains are broken. The fire didn't burn you. And the storm only revealed your strength. You are chosen, and the enemy knows it. That's why he tried to break you, but heaven turned it into your training. So rise, chosen one, because the battle within is not your downfall. It's your awakening. You are walking proof that God turns pain into power and warfare into worship. The enemy is defeated. Your peace is your weapon, and your destiny, it's closer than it's ever been. You survived the battle within. Now it's time to shine without.
There comes a moment when the pain stops defining you and your purpose starts refining you. When the tears that once drowned your faith start watering your destiny. And that's where you are right now, chosen one. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're in rebirth. The chains gone, the fear fading, and that fire inside you, it's starting to roar again. See, everything you went through, it wasn't random. It was training. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every silent night was heaven's boot camp. You thought you were breaking down, but really, God was breaking open. He was unlocking strength you didn't even know existed inside you. Because before he sends a warrior to the battlefield, he teaches them how to fight in the dark. You know that moment when you stop begging God for answers and instead say, all right, Lord, just guide me. That's the shift. That's when heaven looks at you and says, now they're ready. You're not asking for the pain to go away anymore. You're asking for the strength to carry purpose through it. That's the mark of a warrior, because chosen ones, they don't run from the fire. They walk through it and come out shining. You're stepping into a season where your voice carries weight, where your presence shifts atmospheres, where your peace becomes your weapon. People won't understand how you can stay calm in chaos. They'll wonder how you keep shining when the world keeps trying to dim your light, but they won't know the secret that your peace was forged in storms. They'll see your glow, but they'll never understand the darkness that taught you how to shine. You used to ask, why me? Now you say, use me. That's growth. That's purpose awakening, because warriors don't just survive battles, they carry wisdom from them. You learned how to love without losing yourself. You learned how to forgive without forgetting your worth. You learned how to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. And now you're ready to walk in authority, not arrogance, in confidence, not chaos, in grace, not guilt. Chosen one, this is where heaven starts trusting you with the mission, because now you're not led by emotion, you're led by discernment. You're not chasing blessings, you are the blessing. You've become the very thing your younger self was praying for. You're no longer waiting for the world to validate you. You know who you are, and more importantly, whose you are. The old version of you, gone. That timid, unsure, broken soul, buried. And in its place, a warrior reborn in grace and fire. You've got authority now, spiritual authority, because pain birthed power in you. Every scar became a signature of survival, Every fall became fuel for your rise. And now, when you speak, demons tremble. When you walk, light follows. When you pray, heaven listens. That's the divine upgrade that comes after the breaking. This next season, it's not about proving yourself. It's about positioning yourself. You don't need validation. You need alignment. You don't need approval. You need assignment. Because when God anoints you, no enemy can unappoint you. They can gossip, doubt, throw shade, or try to pull you back, but they can't touch what's divine. You're protected, covered, and chosen, period. You know why life had to hit you so hard? Because your calling is heavy. The greater the assignment, the greater the refinement. You weren't meant for average. That's why average never felt right to you. You weren't built for small talk and shallow dreams. You were designed for divine impact. You walk different because you've been touched by heaven. You talk different because your words carry oil. And you love different because you've seen what pain can do and chose compassion instead of bitterness. That's divine maturity. That's warrior energy. Look back for a second. Everything you thought was a curse turned out to be a compass. Everything you thought was rejection turned out to be redirection. And every delay, that was divine protection. Heaven wasn't saying no, it was saying not yet. You're still in training, and now that training is complete. Now it's time to execute. Walk in that room like you belong there, because you do. Speak with authority, because heaven backs your words. Pray with fire, because angels respond when you open your mouth. You're not the victim of your story anymore. You're the vessel of victory. And no weapon formed against you will ever prosper, because the power in you isn't man-made. It's God-breathed. Chosen one, your name is echoing in realms you haven't even seen yet. Your obedience is shaking nations you don't even know exist. And your faith is rewriting generational curses that tried to end your bloodline. You are the curse breaker, the chain destroyer, the one heaven handpicked to shift everything. When you rise this time, rise slow, rise humble, rise grateful, because the goal ain't revenge, it's redemption. The mission ain't fame, it's freedom, and your reward ain't applause, it's peace. So hear me clearly, chosen one. This is not just your comeback. This is your becoming. You're walking in divine authority now. Your steps are ordered. Your path is protected, and your power is heaven approved. You're not just breaking chains anymore. You're building kingdoms. Because when purpose becomes power, the world doesn't just notice you. The world needs you.
You made it through the storm. You survived what was sent to destroy you. And now heaven's whispering, it's time. Time for peace to replace pain. Time for blessings to replace battles. Time for faith to cash out every tear you ever cried. Because when a chosen one stays faithful through the fire, heaven always delivers interest. See, God doesn't forget. Not one sleepless night, not one broken prayer, not one time you said, I can't do this, and still got up anyway. Every sacrifice was recorded. Every act of kindness when you had nothing left, seen. Every time you gave love when you were empty, noted. And now you're stepping into the divine payback season. You ain't just lucky, chosen one, you're favored. This ain't karma. This is kingdom. The same God who saw you crying on the floor is about to put a crown on your head, because you didn't fold when the world turned cold. You stayed real. You stayed humble. You stayed faithful. And that's why the gates of heaven are opening over your life. You didn't chase clout. You chased purpose. You didn't beg for validation. You prayed for vision. You didn't try to fit in. You learned to stand out. And for that, God says, now I can trust you. You passed the test. You endured the season of silence. You kept walking when it didn't make sense.
You trusted the process when everyone said it was pointless. That's why you're not getting a small blessing. You're getting a divine overflow. The chains that held you back have been broken. The curses that haunted your family line have been shattered. The weight that sat on your spirit has been lifted. You've been released, chosen one. Released into peace. Released into purpose. Released into power. This is your divine victory season. But remember this, chosen one. Victory ain't about what you get. It's about what you become. You've become wiser. You've become softer, not weaker, but more aware. You've become bolder, not reckless, but fearless. And that glow you carry, that's not confidence. That's confirmation. Confirmation that God's hand never left you. Look back for a moment. You remember when you thought it was over? When you thought the pain had no purpose? When you said, Lord, if you're real, please show me something. Well, this is that something. That peace you feel now, that's Him. That new energy, that's Him. The calm that doesn't make sense, that's Him. You ain't the same because you ain't supposed to be. You've entered a realm where your spirit leads more than your emotions, where you don't chase, you attract, where you don't fear, you flow, and where you don't beg, you believe. Because now you know who you are. You're not lost anymore. You're aligned. You're awake. You're anchored. That's divine victory. Not loud, not flashy, but holy. People will look at you and think it happened overnight. They won't see the nights you cried, the times you wanted to give up, the countless moments you said, God, please just give me a sign. But heaven saw it all. Heaven recorded every moment, and heaven decided now is the time. The tables are turning. The weight is lifting. The light is expanding. Your name is echoing in rooms you haven't even walked into yet, because when it's your divine time, nothing can stop it. You thought it was too late. You thought you missed it. But what's yours was never on anyone else's clock. God doesn't run on time. He runs on timing. And the timing is now. You're walking into blessings that have been maturing for years. Things that were delayed are being delivered. Opportunities that were hidden are being revealed. And doors that were locked are being opened with your name on them. But remember this, chosen one. Victory ain't comfort. Victory is calling. Because now that you've been strengthened, heaven's going to use you to lift others. You survived for a reason, to show others survival is possible. You healed for a reason, to help others heal too. You rose for a reason, to remind the world that God still resurrects. The same God who pulled you out of the pit is now preparing to place you on the platform, but not for fame, for impact. Because your story, it's not just yours. It's somebody's proof that faith still works. Walk tall, walk bold, walk blessed. Because heaven has already declared victory in your name. Every step you take now is a confirmation that the war is won. Every breath you take now carries divine energy. Every prayer you whisper now shakes the atmosphere. You've been crowned, not by men, but by God Himself. You'll notice it soon. Doors open smoother, peace lasts longer, love feels purer, and your energy untouchable. Because you're no longer moving from pain, you're moving from purpose. And when you move with purpose, the universe bends in your favor. This is your confirmation, chosen one. The season of struggle was never your ending, it was your education. You learned who you are, who He is, and who never deserved access to your peace. Now you rise, not to prove, but to praise, not to flex, but to flow, not to conquer people, but to conquer your calling. That's divine victory. Not about winning battles, about becoming unstoppable. So lift your head, warrior. You made it through what others didn't survive. You carried grace when others gave up. And now, heaven says, well done. You are walking proof that faith can't fail. You are the miracle that pain tried to bury. You are the light that darkness couldn't kill. This is your season. This is your victory. This This is your divine reward. The battle's over. The chains are gone, and destiny is finally yours.
Listen to me, chosen one. This right here, this moment, this ain't random. You're not hearing this by accident. It's not a coincidence you pressed play on this message right now, because the universe, God Himself, has been whispering your name through every storm, every heartbreak, every lonely night. You thought you were being punished? Nah. You were being prepared. Those chains you've been dragging, they weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to make you strong enough to break them. You've been walking through fire, wondering, why me? Why do I keep getting tested like this? But hear this truth loud and clear. Every test was training. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was divine timing. You weren't being ignored, you were being refined. You were being molded into someone who can carry the crown of destiny without it crushing you. God's been saying, child, I can't give you what you asked for until you become strong enough to hold it. You see, your destiny isn't cheap. It's not a discount blessing. It's heaven forged. So yeah, it takes longer. It costs more, and not everybody around you is meant to understand that. Some people were only supposed to walk with you halfway. Some chains had faces, and you had to learn to let go of them too. But now you're at the edge of something divine, the place where the old version of you dies and the true you begins to rise. The warrior, the light bearer, the chosen vessel. You've carried your cross long enough, fam. Now it's time to step into your calling. The pain that broke you, that's the same pain that's about to build you. The rejection that crushed your ego, that's what's unlocking your spirit. So hear this. No more shrinking to fit into small spaces. No more apologizing for your light. No more waiting for permission to rise. You've been anointed for this moment. You've been assigned to this season. You've been chosen to break the chains that kept generations bound. You're not crazy for feeling different. You're called. You're not behind. You're right on divine schedule. When you rise this time, you rise with purpose. You rise with power. You rise with heaven behind you, because now the world won't just see what you've been through. They'll see what God can do through you. So breathe in deep, chosen one. Feel that fire in your chest? That's your destiny calling. And this time, you're ready to answer it. Chosen one, if these words reached you, it wasn't just a video, it was a message. A divine reminder that you were never forgotten. That even in your silence, heaven was speaking. Every scene, every sound, every pause was meant to awaken something sacred inside you. And if it did, don't just scroll away. Let this moment anchor in your spirit. Let it remind you your destiny still calls your name. Before you go, take a deep breath. Let gratitude fill your soul for how far you've come. And if this message lit a spark inside you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or divinely guided, then don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next word heaven sends your way. Share this with someone who's walking through their own dark night, someone who just needs to know they're not alone, because sometimes the message you share becomes the miracle someone prayed for. Drop a shine in the comments if you feel that fire awakening. Let the universe see the chosen ones are rising again. And remember, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to illuminate, to be the proof that light wins every single time. Until next time, stay faithful, stay grounded, stay glowing, because your purpose isn't coming. It's already here for those who are awake and those who are awakening.